West Ham have had a bid worth £57 million rejected for the Aston Villa striker John Duran. And a day after claiming he's in charge of arguably the worst Manchester United side in the club's history, Ruben Amorim is close to making his first signing. Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. Dharmesh Chef, Michael Bridge in the hot seats this evening, and they're going to take us through all of the top transfer stories. Plus, Jamie Carragher tells us what Arsenal have to do this month to get their title push back on track. And plenty could change at Chelsea. We'll hear from their manager, Enzo Maresca, before they play Wolves this evening. So, busiest club in the window, looks like Manchester City. They made a signing. Dharmesh, tell us about him.
Yep, Manchester City's first signing of this transfer window, and is the one we have been expecting. It's one of three, but it is Abdulkadir Kushanov. The 20-year-old has joined from Lens for a fee in the region of £33.5 million plus bonuses. This represents a huge profit for Lens because they signed him 18 months ago for a fee some have reported to be less than £100,000. That is some profit. £100,000 to £33.5 million. He's joined City on a 4.5-year contract. He will wear the number 45 shirt. Sound familiar? It was the shirt once worn by a certain Mario Balotelli. Now, he was the first Uzbekistani international to play in League 1, and once he plays for City, he will become the first Uzbekistani international to play in the Premier League as well. This is a historic signing for City. It's the first of the window, and I think there's a few more to come. Yeah, a few more to come. Tell us about them, Michael.
Could be a very busy few days for Manchester City Football Club. We know Omar Mamouche has said his goodbyes to the Eintracht Frankfurt fans. He's a very exciting forward in the Bundesliga. I'm sure he'll fit straight in to that Manchester City side. He flew into the UK, we believe maybe today or yesterday, so we're awaiting information on that. And the Palmeiras defender, Victor Reis, the 18-year-old Palmeiras defender, we believe is in the UK as well. So a very busy next few days for Manchester City. Maybe a rejuvenated Manchester City after that excellent win over Ipswich, and then that 9.5-year deal for Erling Haaland on Friday. And then maybe attention might then turn to a midfielder, which could complete an excellent January window for Manchester City. And the name we're hearing and the one they're potentially exploring is Douglas Luiz from Juve. So a busy few days expected, and that has been for Manchester City.
Yeah, he was at City once upon a time. Someone who is at City who may not be for much longer, Dharmesh, Kyle Walker. What do we know about his future?
Yeah, it looks like an exit for Kyle Walker is edging closer. AC Milan are expected to make an offer for the England international defender to Manchester City. It's thought it will be a 6-month loan, but it will come with an option to buy him permanently at the end of that 6-month loan. Now, Walker himself, we're told, has agreed to the move in principle if a deal between the two clubs can be struck. Milan have one spot for a non-EU player available, and they've called their interest, it seems, in Marcus Rashford, so it's probably going to be Kyle Walker. OK, all right, let's talk Manchester United now. Ruben Amorim made headlines yesterday when he said his current squad was arguably the worst in United's history. Well, that shocked Jamie Carragher. He says things won't improve at Old Trafford until Amorim signs players that fit his system.
But I must say, I think it was one of the most bizarre and ridiculous things I've ever heard a manager say. I mean, why you would make a comment like that? That's the type of comment a pundit would make, someone in my position, and he'd have to defend that in some ways. But I don't know what he gains from that, what the benefit is. That we all know it's a poor Manchester United team. And in some ways, we're talking about Manchester United today. We'll probably cover them on the show later because of what the manager said. Because before that, they'd lost another game at home to Brighton. They've done that in the last couple of years anyway. We know it's a tough season. We know it's a poor team. He's just blew something up that will be a quote that will follow him for the rest of the season. And when he said that, I think he said to the journalist there, waiting, I'll give you a headline. Why you would want to do that as a manager, I will never know.
Take us inside the dressing room. You're a Manchester United player and you hear your manager say you're in the worst team in your club's history. What does that do to you?
Well, it certainly doesn't help you confidence-wise, going forward, or maybe belief-wise, And listen, I've got not much sympathy for the players in that Manchester United dressing room. I mean, they've been a joke for a few years now. And then I think a few weeks ago, after they played Liverpool, there was an interview with Lisandro Martinez where he was talking about the mentality and tapping his head. That was different today. I mean, I nearly burst out laughing when I saw that, to be honest. The amount of times Manchester United have basically threw the towel in or had bad performances over the last 4 to 5 years. So I've got not much sympathy in the dressing room for the players. But what I would say is, from the manager's point of view, how can he then go into the dressing room between now and the end of the season and continually try and sort of build them up and give them belief in a team and that they can go and beat the opposition, whoever they come up against, if he's said they are the worst team in Manchester United history, or certainly one of them. So at no point can I see what he's going to gain from that.
Do they have to go into the market, get rid of a number of players they've got and bring in players who can play in his system?
Yes, they have to do that, but that's in the summer. I don't think he's going to be able to get the players he wants in January. We know it's a tough market, whether to sell players or bring players in. I think it's doubly difficult this season because of the European competitions have gone into January. So I think if I'm Manchester United, I'd almost be keeping my powder dry for the summer. There's going to be a lot more movement. You can get players who you want in, then get players out as well. So what you don't want to do is end up spending money, and then it comes to the summer and you think these players aren't actually good enough to improve this team or the system. But they're going to have to go through a lot of pain. I think the manager knows that. We all know that. And we accept that. I don't think there's too much mounting criticism around the manager. Had a few good results of late, away from home at Arsenal, the FA Cup, and Liverpool in the Premier League. We know it's going to be a roller coaster because the players are not good enough. They've shown that with different managers and with different systems. But I can't get away from the quote that he said. I just do not believe that was in his best interest at all.
Jamie Carragher there. Dharmesh, he says that they've got to get players in that fit the Amorim system. Anyone on the horizon?
Let's come to that in just a moment, Mike, because we've got some developments on Marcus Rashford. Now, we have been saying that a deal for Marcus Rashford to leave Manchester United in this transfer window is looking increasingly difficult to do. That's because of all of the finances that would be involved in such a deal. Borussia Dortmund, we've been telling you, will continue to push to try and sign Marcus Rashford. And we're told in the past few minutes that they've actually made an inquiry to Manchester United over what the loan terms for Marcus Rashford would look like if they opt to move for him. Now, that is something that a club would do, having spoken to Rashford's representatives. But it is a very, very difficult and complex deal to do because Manchester United would no doubt want a loan fee as well as Borussia Dortmund covering a lot, if not all, of the wages, because Manchester United feel that this has all been driven by Rashford himself. He's done that interview saying he wants a new challenge. They're pretty relaxed about the situation. He's under contract there. Yes, he's been omitted from the squad by Ruben Amorim, and that's added to the speculation about his future. But I think that Ruben Amorim, whenever he is asked a question about Marcus Rashford, is clear in his messaging. He said the onus is on the player to try and fight his way back into the squad. He's not addressing this interview that Marcus Rashford has done. He's not addressing the fact that Marcus Rashford has said he wants a new challenge. All he is saying is, I'm picking the squad that I feel is the best for Manchester United with the players who are training at their peak. So it's clear from that deduction, if we take it on face value, Ruben Amorim doesn't think that Marcus Rashford is doing that. And the onus is then on Rashford to be able to raise his game, to be able to get back into it. They are in the market, though, it's clear, Borussia Dortmund, to bring in a forward. They've sold Donyell Malen to Aston Villa in the last week for in excess of £20 million. AC Milan are keeping an eye on that situation as well. And as I mentioned before, the EU, the non-EU player issue means that they're probably going to go for Kyle Walker ahead of Marcus Rashford. Having said all of that, all options still remain on the table. And the one I've said from the start of this transfer window, even though Rashford has said he wants a new challenge, is come February the 3rd at midnight, Marcus Rashford, there's still a possibility that he will remain a Manchester United player. Now, if that is the case, what Manchester United need from Marcus Rashford for the remainder of this season is for him to be playing football, be it abroad, in a European club, or for Manchester United. So there will have to be some sort of reintegration into the first team squad for the remainder of this season, so that come the summer, Marcus Rashford will hopefully, if he's at United, will have played for United, will have scored goals for United, would have played regularly for Man United. So one of two things can happen. His market value will go up come the summer, or indeed he will still be part of Ruben Amorim's plans moving forward. But as it stands, every option is still available.
I read a report a few hours ago, a report from Germany, that Erik ten Hag could be appointed Borussia Dortmund head coach if they lost their Champions League tie of Bologna tomorrow night.
Would that increase the idea of Rashford going there or decrease the chances?
It's a good question. It depends which one came first as well. Can you imagine if they tried to do a deal with Marcus Rashford and then they appointed Erik ten Hag? I think if there was to be a situation where ten Hag was to come in, then they might just wait and see what they want to do with Marcus Rashford. But forgetting about ten Hag at the moment, this deal is very difficult to do because of the finances. Let's get that straight.
Curiouser and curiouser. Michael, Alejandro Garnacho, what's going on with him?
Yeah, probably Rashford and Garnacho are the two names we hear throughout January. Now, the Napoli sporting director, Giovanni Manna, has confirmed their interest in Garnacho, and he's described him as an important player. And he said if they were to join, it would be on Napoli's terms. That's quite bolshy, considering our understanding is that Manchester United do not want to sell Garnacho, and it would take a huge, huge offer for Manchester United to consider a sale. But as you've said, throughout January, with everything going on, PSR and wanting to change maybe the whole squad, I suppose every player has a price.
It's not just United. This has just been directed at Man United. There'll be loads of star players at every single Premier League club not for sale. We are not selling this player. Suddenly a £200 million bid comes in. What are you going to do? You're going to have to think about it. Every player at the end of the day has got his price. Yeah.
All right, let's talk Anthony Darmesh. Is he on his way out?
This looks close now because Real Betis are close to agreeing a deal to sign Anthony from Manchester United. The deal under discussion is a straight loan. And we've been speaking about, Rashford perhaps being a straight loan. We saw Sancho go on a straight loan. I think they just want to enhance his market value. They're not going to get anywhere near £86 million that they spent a couple of summers ago to Ajax. That's not going to happen. But all parties, I think, are hopeful now that a deal can be finalised sooner rather than later. One thing I would say, though, about Anthony, and makes me think, does he potentially still have a small chance of a longer-term future at Manchester United? That's because if you compare what's happening with Rashford and Anthony, it's quite different, because Anthony has featured in every single one of Ruben Amorim's squads since he took over, bar the home defeat to Nottingham Forest. And he's played a few minutes here and there. So I'm wondering whether it's one, Ruben Amorim has seen something, or whether it's just a case of trying to get him to play well for United so that they can get a better deal when they do a loan move during this window. But it's clear that if he was to go away on a straight loan, perform well, one of two things, rather, like I said about Rashford, can happen in the summer. He might get reintegrated with the United squad under Ruben Amorim. Does he see Anthony as perhaps a player who, yes, it hasn't worked out for him so far, but can it work out for him in a Ruben Amorim formation? Let's see, because he's continued to pick him in his squads. Or is it just a case of, let's just try and get as much money as we can for him? We know we're not going to make anywhere near 86 million, but if we were to sell him now, it'll probably be a minimal fee. So let's try and get him regular first-team football, get him playing well, get him playing regularly, and at least enhance his market value and reassess in the summer.
Now, Darms, I asked you a question when we started this, and you
sorry about that.
And you confused me with the Rashford stuff. So I'm going to ask you again. Anyone coming in at United?
I think they do want to do a bit of business in this window, but we heard from Jamie Carragher there, it's very, very difficult to, one, get players in through the door in January, but also to get players, specific players that are going to fit what Ruben Amorim wants to do at Manchester United, because every signing that he makes now, number one, has to hit the bullseye. They can't afford any mistakes now, Manchester United, given the amount of money that they've spent, but also it's going to be easier to do it in the summer. However, they are in talks with Lecce to sign their left-back, Patrick Dorgu. Now, we understand that Dorgu is open to that move to Manchester United, but he is one of a number of options that United are looking at in what is becoming a really problematic position for them. Tyrell Malacia has been injured for the best part of 18 months. Luke Shaw simply cannot get fit. I think he played under Amorim and then he was out again for a long period of time and he's still not back. Sky Italy, we've spoken to them. They've got the Lecce side of the story. And as much as they wouldn't want to sell, if they do any business in this January transfer window, we think that they'd want at least 25 to 30 million pounds for Dorgu. So again, are Manchester United going to be able to afford that? The other players who I mentioned that they are looking at, we've been mentioning them throughout this transfer window. Nuno Mendes from PSG, only got 18 months left on his contract. So far, talks over a new contract, failed to find a resolution. United just keeping an eye on that situation. Significantly, Mendes has played under Ruben Amorim when he was at Sporting Lisbon. Yeah. So there is that link there. But it seems that Dorgu, who's a Denmark international, will probably represent more of a viable financial deal compared to someone like Mendes.
And he's a wing-back, right? So he would fit into the Amorim system.
It would seem that way, yes.
OK. All right, let's talk West Ham. Let's talk about, I mean, this has got us going today. John Duran. Tell us about this. First of all, the offer.
It's a big one. West Ham United clearly want the player. They've made a bid worth £57 million to Aston Villa for John Duran. That bid has been rejected. We found that out in the last hour or so. Villa simply do not want to sell. They value him upwards of around £70 million. But this is not just something that's come around in this transfer window. West Ham got a long-term admiration for this player. We think that Graham Potter, the new head coach at West Ham, is a big admirer of John Duran as well. They tried to sign him in the summer, and if you remember a video that probably John Duran regrets a little bit now, when he was making the iron sign, to a video that went wild on social media. But at that time, West Ham couldn't reach an agreement with Aston Villa, rather like they can't at the moment. And Duran, he's since signed a deal that's going to keep him at Aston Villa until 2030. And you know what? He is getting first-team football. If you look back to the summer, I think West Ham probably saw an opportunity because Ollie Watkins was the out-and-out number one choice. He wasn't getting much of a look in apart from off the bench. But now he's almost making an irresistible case to be picked, and he's being picked sometimes ahead of Ollie Watkins. He scored 12 goals in 19 appearances in all competitions this season. So he's very much, it seems, part of the plans as far as Emery's concerned.
Michael, if he is available, surely there'll be competition for West Ham to get him.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And I think the answer is, Mike, he's not available. And I think we'll hear from Unai Emery in this hour for his pre-Monaco press conference. And we'll give you those quotes here on Sky Sports News. But look, as Dharma said, he's had a good few months, John Duran. I think it fits really well for Aston Villa, taking Ollie Watkins off. John Duran seems to score every time I watch Villa over the last few months. He scored every time he came off the bench. A brilliant guy in the Champions League before Christmas. Sometimes they can play together. You're playing for a very successful team in Unai Emery as well. You know, if they get through tomorrow, they're probably nearly sealed qualification for the next stage of the Champions League. They're still in the FA Cup. They're in contention again for the top European placings. It's a bold offer from West Ham, but you look at his potential now and the way he started this season, it won't be enough.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Tottenham. So much to talk about them. And also Arsenal and whether they need a striker. Jamie Carragher joins the debate.
We all know the short in that area, but can you get the quality that you need that to get Arsenal back in to, well, not sort of back in the race, I would say, to win the race? You know, it is the season where it feels like they have to win the race.
was another damaging defeat for Tottenham yesterday. They're 15th in the Premier League and there's real pressure on Ange Postecoglou. But how much is he to blame? Well, we asked two former Spurs players, Jamie O'Hara and Ramon Vega.
But the board has to look in the face, or in the mirror, what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years. They might be very, very good in real estate, organising good concerts, or running a football club. Big question mark.
We can sit and talk and blame Daniel Levy in terms of investment and in terms of his focus on what is Tottenham Hotspur and where he wants the club to go. But look, there's a massive injury list. We get that, but there's still top players to choose from.
I don't agree with you, Jamie, mate. I'm not agreeing with you.
Playing like a reserve team. They're playing. It's embarrassing. Like that first half yesterday was pathetic to watch against Everton.
I don't see the goal of this club. As I say again, from my point of view, I think Ange at the moment was the only option in the last summer. If you go back historically, Tottenham hasn't got a good reputation to get coaches after Mourinho, Conte, etc. Who wants to come here? They know it's a graveyard of coaches because they only have.
Well, you say who wants to come here, bro? You say who wants to come here? I mean, we got Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. So you can't say you don't attract top managers because we can.
How can Ange? Well, actually, pretty much, I would say he has very good football. Everybody loves him at the beginning. Of course, he has limited resources, and I know the club needs to redo the whole recruitment.
How has he got limited resources, though? Sorry, how has he got limited resources? Tottenham has spent a lot of money. When he first come in, when Ange first got in the job, it's only Chelsea who spent more money than Tottenham.
The club has potential massively. They have a nice gun, but they don't know how to shoot with the gun. That's the problem I see with Spurs, you know. And I hope for Ange to recover this very quickly and get some potential in the next few weeks, some players to support that.
My problem with Ange is his stubbornness when the tactics and in-game management and trying to get something right. It's just we're playing this way. It's who we are, mate, and this is what we're doing. And that can't continue. You're 15th in the table. You're getting beat every week.
Everybody's saying he's stubborn. Yes, he's stubborn because he's trying to create stability within the squad that everybody knows. If somebody's missing, he can replace and he knows how to play there. And that's where the problem with Ange is not at the moment is. He hasn't got that managed so far. But I hope he can do that.
That's those two. I want your view. Right, Hoffenheim on Thursday, weekend Leicester in the Premier League. Does he have to win those games to keep his job?
I think he has to avoid defeat in Germany, and then Leicester, who are struggling massively, that has to be
lost 7 in a row.
It has to be a must-win as well. Look, I think the next 2 weeks are absolutely pivotal because I think Spurs are in all 4 competitions over the next few weeks. Okay, look, and Ange said it yesterday, 15th is not good enough. I'm looking at the league table now. Look at getting into Europe from those league placings looks very unlikely already. You see the teams above them, but they're in the Carabao Cup semi-final. They're 1 up at half-time. They've got to go to Anfield. That's tough. Villa away, FA Cup 4th round. Tough. Then they've got these 2 European games this Thursday and next Thursday. So the next 2 weeks are absolutely defining for the season. And then, of course, we've got, 12, 13 days left of the transfer window. So, yeah, very massive couple of weeks.
Let's just say he's still the man to bring players in if they need them. They're after a striker, we know that. Any movement on that?
No, there's going to be discussions this week on a forward, all of them together. They wanted Moani, but he ended up going to Juve. But there will be discussions this week on that. Let's remember the last couple of weeks, Ange Postecoglou said to me, to our colleagues, Dom needs help. Dom got injured Saturday, kicking a ball near the end of training, and he's probably out for three to 5 weeks. You know, and you could just tell in his interview with Emma Saunders before the match against Everton, so down, so disconsolate. But the board wants it to work under Postecoglou. Postecoglou took responsibility for the first half display against Everton. But as I say, pivotal few weeks coming up.
Is it fair to judge Ange Postecoglou, given all the injuries he's got?
Bournemouth had 9 out the weekend and played like gods.
Yeah, but Spurs have played about 473 games this season. You know, I think, but there needs to be a collective responsibility at the start of the season. We all knew that Europe was going to be extended. OK, we all enjoy looking at this new league table, but we don't have European games in January ever. We do this season. We've got the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. who have they beaten in the Carabao Cup? Man City, Man United. They've beaten Liverpool in the first leg. They've had some good results, but they've had some terrible results on top of it this season. Last season, they didn't play enough games. This season, they've probably played too many games. But they were aware these games were going to happen. So, it's as I say, in the transfer market, it's a big few days, but they've got to get these injured players back. The only player I can think coming back this week may be Rodrigo Bentancur because of that concussion he suffered against Liverpool. And thank goodness it was just that.
Yeah. He's key, isn't he?
Absolutely. But they need to get Van der Ven back. They need to get Romero back. But and Dragusin hasn't replaced Romero adequately. Ben Davies has just come back, and Archie Gray has just played every single game in nearly every single position, probably apart from the position I like seeing him in is potentially midfield. Yeah. So, as I say again, a pivotal couple of weeks.
All right, let's talk Arsenal now then. Well, they suffered another blow to their title ambitions over the weekend after they conceded that 2-goal lead to draw with Aston Villa. Jamie Carragher feels they need reinforcements up top if they're going to catch Liverpool. Do Arsenal need a forward?
Yes, and it's not necessarily a guy through the middle. It could be someone on the left. I think they're short. I've always felt that. And I know there's a lot of talk, and Mikel Arteta's talking right now that they need help in January, and that's because of the injuries that they got. And I totally agree with that. But you do have to look at the decision in the summer to not bring another attacking player in and bring in Moreno in midfield, who I'm not quite sure what he actually offers to this Arsenal team, which they didn't already have. You know, at times, Declan Rice plays in that position, big, powerful, number 8 on that left side. Kai Havertz can play that position as well. So I'm not sure how different he is to them. I don't think he's added too much really to the team, but he definitely lack a spark of creativity between the lines. That's something we're going to look at as well with Arsenal tonight. You know, down that left side, is Martinelli and Trossard good enough? I mean, Trossard was outstanding at the weekend and setting up 2 goals, but we all know the short in that area. But can you get the quality that you need that and get Arsenal back in to, well, not sort of back in the race, I would say, to win the race? You know, it is the season where it feels like they have to win the race because I think supporters there are getting very agitated.
They are getting agitated. Dharmesh, Jamie just said it there. They should have done it before. They haven't done it. Are they going to do it now and strengthen their forward line?
They want to. It's clear they want to. They're working behind the scenes to see what's actually possible in terms of recruiting a forward in this window. It should be said, co-chairman Josh Kroenke, he'll be at the Emirates this week to watch their Champions League game against Dinamo Zagreb, and he'll also be working with the club's decision makers over potential signings, if anything indeed can be done in the last 2 weeks. Short-term options, long-term options, they're both being considered, but Arsenal, as is their way, will be calm, they'll be measured in what is notoriously a difficult window. Jamie Carragher mentioned it with United. It's very difficult to get deals done in a January transfer window, but they won't panic. They'll do the deal if they feel the finances are right and if the right character of player can come into the squad and play under Mikel Arteta. Look, it's clear that Arsenal will be looking for a high-profile player who is performing well, and with all of those ingredients, they'll normally be at a big club, perhaps playing Champions League football already. So there's going to be a reluctance from a selling club to do any business with Arsenal because they want to keep that player. But if they were to do business, if you're the selling club, what's your attitude going to be? Add however much money you want because you can smell a perceived desperation from the Arsenal side. So Arsenal won't want that to be put across. We will do the deal if we feel it's the right thing to do. Otherwise, we will look at the summer transfer window when it's easier to do.
Premier League to be won this season.
Of course.
They need to do some business, surely.
Of course there is, but there's also many examples in a January window when, right, we need to do something very quickly. Let's get it done. And if it's the wrong player, that can set you back for a summer transfer window, particularly if you spend big money in a January transfer window on someone that's not your first choice. If it works out and they win the league, fantastic. If it doesn't work out and they don't win the league, slight problem. You can't go for your long-term target in the summer because you've actually spent this much money on that other target already. So you're going to be a little bit compromised come the summer transfer window. So they do have to weigh all of these things up. And as I keep saying on this show many times, and it's not just to do with Arsenal, these clubs always focus on a summer transfer window. That's how they plan their recruitment, 1, 2, 3 years ahead. January is usually a reactive window. If they've got lots of injuries, I guess you can say, yes, Arsenal do have that. Jesus is out, Saka is out. Saka, though, will be back
Fans will
before
say
the
Arsenal
end of the
react.
season.
It's a reactive window,
Of course,
react.
of course. But fans will also say, what are they doing? Are they just sitting there? Of course they're not. Of course they want to do something. It's not like they're just saying, let's just wait for the summer. Just carry on, see what happens.
OK,
Of
fine.
course they're not going to do that.
All right. What about people leaving Arsenal, Michael?
Well, it'd be probably in the left-back area. Got Alexander Zinchenko and Kieran Tierney. Zinchenko's an interesting one, because remember breaking that when he joined from Manchester City. But look, Arsenal have moved on. And Lewis Skelly's performance against Spurs the other night, and I know they love him ever so well. They've got Julian Timber, haven't they, at left-back? Calafiore can play there as well.
Yeah, they've got cover, haven't they?
Yeah, and we know there's interest from Celtic and Tierney. There's been interest from Dortmund in Zinchenko. But you've got a bit more on Tierney and Celtic, haven't you?
Yeah, look, I mean, Celtic definitely want him. They have spoken to his representatives over a pre-contract agreement in the summer, and that one looks like it will happen, or it's close to happening. With 6 months left on his contract, Arsenal had the option to extend for a further 12 months. They haven't taken up that option. So they know now Tierney can speak to anyone outside England. However, Celtic will still explore internally whether they want to try and do a loan for this month as well, for the rest of the season. Now, the Champions League might have a say in that. If they reach the knockout stages, then they'll have extra fixtures, and I think then they will want to bring in Tierney as soon as possible. If they don't get to the Champions League knockout stages, then there is a strong possibility where they'll think, well, we've got enough for the league, there's a big enough lead, we can wait for Kieran Tierney until the summer. But let's just wait for these fixtures, because as Michael was saying before, this is unprecedented with European football. We've got fixtures in January. I think they just want to get these out of the way before they decide. But having said that, Arsenal will only let the likes of Zinchenko and Tierney go as long as they've got backup in that squad.
It's great for fans, but I've never done a January like it. But League Cup, FA Cup, Europe, after such a busy Christmas period. But this is where we are.
Yeah, it is indeed. I'm being told you've got news from West Ham, Dharmesh.
Yes, so we told you over the weekend that West Ham forward Maxwell Cornet was travelling to Italy for a medical with Genoa. Well, that was after Genoa and West Ham had agreed a loan deal until the end of the season. He was actually on loan at Southampton, was Cornet, hadn't played for 3 months, so they've terminated that loan, and Genoa and West Ham United have now announced that signing. That will be until the end of the season. West Ham will hope he plays regularly, score lots of goals, come back to West Ham, increase market value, and then maybe sell him in the summer.
Indeed. All right, let's take a break. 2 weeks left in the window, that is all. Loads going on, as you can see. Next, we'll have news from every single Premier League club in the wrap. See you then.
уже etdim. En yaxshi komanda, en yaxshi murabbiy, en yaxshi chempionat.
What are your personal goals for both this season and beyond as a City player?
Men bu yoqqa o'z uchun keldim. Trofey yutish uchun.
Breaking news, City sign a 9-year-old for their first team. He's very young looking. So he's in the door. Who else is close to coming in the door?
Well, they've got, I mean, Mamouche is so close as well now, isn't he? Omar Mamouche, I think Manchester City fans should be really excited with this one. He's done ever so well in the Bundesliga, said his goodbyes, didn't he, on Friday. This sounds like it could maybe happen in the next day or so. Victor Reich, the central defender from Palmeiras as well, 18 years of age. So Pep Guardiola said a few weeks ago they were going to be busy. They are busy. And what a few weeks it's been for Manchester City. Only Friday, wow, that bombshell announcement of $9.5-year deal for Erling Haaland. And did that give them that boost they needed with that big win over Ipswich on Sunday?
Yeah, possibly. All right. Let's get more build up to the Monday night football then. Chelsea versus Wolves at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea looking for a first league win in 5 attempts. Their head coach, Enzo Maresca, stopped by the Monday night football studio just a short time ago.
Good evening to you, Enzo. Thanks for joining us. It looks like you've had a bit of a challenge picking this Chelsea team tonight. Quite a few missing players. Tell us.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, we had some problems from last game, but yeah, we try to find different solution and try to adapt for this game.
Does it make you nervous, Enzo, when you have to make so many changes in your defensive back four?
Is in this moment of the season, I think many teams they have problems in terms of injury. In this moment is for us, but hopefully the one that they're gonna play today, they can help us.
Was it always in your mind that when you brought Trevor Chalobah back from Crystal Palace that he would start the game tonight?
The intention, the reason why he is back, I said already many times. First of all, is because we are sure that he can help us, and also because we need him to play games, and tonight he is going to start. And as I said, hopefully he can help the team to get the 3 points.
Of course, as well, Enzo, it means big opportunities for these players who are coming into your team, not least Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who I imagine has been desperate for this chance. What do you want to see from him?
The same thing he was showing last year when we were together, the same thing that in some games he showed this season, especially in the Conference League. I know Keenan quite well. I know how he can help us. And also I know how difficult it is for these kind of players that, you know, they are waiting for a chance. Finally, the chance is there. But sometimes when you see the chance, like, you know, the only moment that you can do something, probably sometimes you try to do things that they are not in the plan. You want to show yourself too much. He has to play easy. He has to do his job. And for sure he's going to play well.
Enzo Maresca there. He's had to juggle his squad tonight. Yeah, and Trevor Chalobah, who was on loan at Crystal Palace, and you wondered how often he'll play at Chelsea. Now they record him, but starts tonight. Yeah, very interesting. I know many Chelsea fans really do love Trevor Chalobah, and they felt really sorry for him in pre-season when he was deemed surplus to requirements. So yeah, it's an interesting one, that one. All right, let's stay with Chelsea, Michael. Milan looking at one of their players. Tell us more. Yeah, and he's on the bench for Chelsea tonight, and it's João Felix. AC Milan wanting to sign him, but the key here is Chelsea and consider him currently unavailable for sale. He only joined Chelsea this summer from Atletico Madrid. I mean, Enzo Maresca played much though, has he? No, he hasn't played much. He's predominantly played. He scored against Wolves on the opening weekend, twice in the FA Cup and 4 times in the UEFA Conference League. I mean, it's still a pretty strong Chelsea team tonight. And Christopher Nkunku's on the bench, who we've talked about on the transfer show at the moment. Exeter Desai's on the bench. So Jadon Sancho's on the bench. It's still a pretty strong bench. Got a lot of players, Chelsea. Yeah. I mean, I know they're in the FA Cup as well and the Conference League, but he seems to be juggling it pretty well so far, Enzo Maresca, who I like listening to. He'll be delighted to hear that. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more from Arsenal, and we'll get an update from Unai Emery on John Duran. That will be unmissable. See you in a moment. going to recap Marcus Rashford. Just remind us, Darmesh, do we think this is going to get done, anything's going to get done in this window?
All options on the table still, but it's going to be a really, really difficult deal for any club to be able to do, simply because of the finances that are involved. Manchester United are pretty relaxed about this whole situation because, number one, they don't actually ideally want to be paying some other club to take Marcus Rashford away, but they do know that if he's not going to play for the rest of this season at United, then the best bet would be for him to go to preferably a European club. Borussia Dortmund have actually inquired to Manchester United. You remember, everything has been done by intermediaries so far, but they've actually made an inquiry to United to explore the conditions of a deal. Let's see how far that gets, but it's still going to be very, very difficult for them to do.
Is there any chance he could stay in this country and play for another Premier League club?
Like I said, all options are open. West Ham, we remember earlier in the window, said they wanted to be kept abreast of that situation. But then if United are going to be quite reluctant to pay some of the wages or a substantial portion of the wages for him to go abroad, you'd think that that would be even less if it was to be a team in the same league as them. So could you imagine, like, you know, for example, Arsenal are looking for a forward, West Ham are looking for a forward. Would United actually go out and do business with these clubs, or would they say to Marcus Rashford, come deadline day, if he's still there, right, start training hard, you've still got an opportunity to get back into Amorim's plans?
Tottenham need a striker. Marcus Rashford?
I don't think that's on the table at the moment, Mike. And also, Manchester United and Spurs aren't far off each other in the league table, are they? And I think that probably applies to West Ham United as well. So I don't think that's on the table. I don't think that would happen. I did ask about that a while back, and it wasn't a name under discussion. But they do need to get some business done. In fairness to Spurs in the past, Antonin Kinski was signed, and that was sort of out of the blue. Wilson Odebear, they signed from Burnley completely out of the blue. He's been unfortunate. He suffered a bad hamstring injury, but they will do business. They have to. They have to.
Will Ange Postecoglou be the manager doing the business?
I think so. I think the board want him to be the manager. They maintain a good relationship, and as we've said tonight, and I've done a piece on our digital platforms about a Q&A on why they believe he's still the man for the job, and I'm sure he'll come out fighting in his press conference pre-Hoffenheim Wednesday, pre-Leicester Friday.
Good plug, that.
Daniel Levy, generally, when we get to this situation, when he's under pressure from the fans, he gets rid of the manager. Can you see that happening this time?
Antonio Conte, I always got the feeling, didn't really want to be there, and he got frustrated. He had a lot of personal problems as well, and the outburst at Southampton, he couldn't have stayed. But they were fourth when he left, and Jose Mourinho's Spurs were heading to a cup final, so I can understand why people say, well, why are they backing this manager now? But I don't think Daniel Levy wants to make a change. And we've seen it with Ruben Amorim. How many good managers are out there who want to sort of join a club mid-season?
Absolutely. I'm going to have to hold it there for you there, Michael, because you go on all night. Coming up on Sky Sports News next, we're going to hear from Unai Emery on John Duran. That is not to be missed, nor is the Monday Night Football. Chelsea versus Wolves. Could be a good one. Enjoy your night.